All right, everyone. I am excited to introduce my next guest, host of the Alien Cracker podcast, the expert in pairing cracker and cheese pairings, Deputy Liv Baker. How are you?
I am good, thanks, Jeff. I was not expecting that intro.
I was just watching. Okay, well, just real quick. Everyone, my guest, you loved her in Upload, Fargo, and of course, Resident Alien, my current favorite show, Elizabeth Bowen. Hello.
Hello. I just want to explain to everyone, I explained it to Jeff, that I've got a weird iPad with the camera on the side. So if you see me looking this way all the time, I'm actually looking at Jeff. Otherwise, if I look here, I'm just pretending that I'm looking at Jeff. Okay? All right. Got that out of the way.
I really thought you were looking at me just now. You are.
Oh, yeah.
You are a good actor. You are good. You are good.
Thank you.
When I was watching the most recent episode and your character on the show did the Alien Cracker podcast, I thought, oh my God, this is a blood. I am going to introduce this film starting to sell.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about it that I have my own fictional podcast. That's right.
I know it's sort of like, how is it like when people come up to you? Like, I just dropped that reference, right? That's the episode that just ran, which I don't even know if you watch. And I don't, because I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you did. Okay. Because a lot of people sometimes don't watch, right, their own stuff. And you probably filmed that, what, 6 months ago?
We filmed
Well, I just mean that in a while ago.
Particular scene at the end of January.
So a while ago.
So yeah, that is 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That scene was filmed the day before I tested positive for COVID for the first time.
Oh, I'm glad I was able to dredge up that memory.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was like I felt fine. And then I was driving home from the studio and I had we get driven, which is very nice. And luckily the driver, Bert, had a mask on. I was like, God, I've got such a bad headache. It must be caffeine withdrawal. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. You digress. We're all.
Yeah, everyone's digressing.
Everyone's digressing. Anyway, I saw that. That was so funny. Anyway, I thought that was funny. But then I realized when you bring something up, it's like it could be a faint memory for you.
No, I mean it's funny sometimes because they send us at least some of the episodes before the show airs so we can kind of do our homework and brush up, because I mean even though I've watched the first 4 at least, sometimes before an episode's going to air, I'm like, I can't remember what's going to happen, and I'll go find my script and I'll refresh my memory because I'm like, I don't even remember what happened. So yes, sometimes it can seem like a distant memory for sure.
Resident Alien is amazing. I love it. I had Sarah Tomko on the show not too long ago.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, I'm more caught up now, and now we're in the 4th season. I was like, I watched it on Netflix, so it was like,
oh, okay. So you watch
time frame and timeline is much different than yours in terms of
and right. It's more recent for you.
Yeah. And so I love the show. You're hilarious. Let me say.
Thank you.
You're really funny. So have you always been funny?
I guess it's also like perception, right? Because I remember as a little kid, I thought I was hilarious. And I don't know if I actually was, but I thought I was. But yeah, I mean, I would sort of vacillate between trying to be a good kid in class and being the class clown sometimes.
I mean, your delivery on the show, it's my favorite kind of delivery. Like any kind, like very dry, deadpan, you say it and you have to really, like the funny part of it is that you realize it's funny as a way it washes over you type thing.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to deliver. I mean, that's not, I think I always find like, I just think like you and Corey Reynolds, who plays Sheriff Mike, your dynamic, your banter back and forth. I mean, it's just too hilarious.
Oh, thank you. I have my family to thank for the deadpan, dry humor, because that's how it was growing up in our household. We were all very sarcastic and very deadpan, and so that was kind of like my normal
delivery.
Yes.
growing up in your sarcastic household, did you always know you wanted to, you were going to one day be a star?
Oh yeah, be a star. I know I did my first play when I was 4. I didn't have any lines. I had to be a straw dancer in Rumpelstiltskin. And I remember the first time we were showing up, it must have been for the rehearsal. I went into the back into the makeup like dressing room, and you could smell the makeup. It was like pancake makeup or something. One of the stars of the show, whose name I can't remember, picked me up and sat me on her lap, and we just chatted, and I thought she was so lovely. And I remember just thinking like, oh yeah, I like this. Like, I think I'd like to do this. And then it wasn't until I actually sort of did more, I think maybe around 8, I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. But I kept telling my parents I wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor. I think I instinctively knew that would be a better thing to say for a while.
Keep them off your,
That's right. Throw them off the scent.
throw them off this. Besides that play, like, what was your first like kind of official thing that you did? It could be it could be high school. I mean, it doesn't mean like.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying to think of the first play that I actually had lines in. So I think I was in a play when I was 5 on a big stage, and I was petrified. Probably when I was it was either grade 6 or grade 7, and I was Alice in Wonderland in the school play, and I had a lot of lines to learn. And so that was maybe like official.
So you went right to headliner. You're like,
Right to headliner. My mom made my costume. She did a great job. So maybe that was. But then when I was in high school, we did The King and I was the I. I was Anna in The King and that was a really neat experience too.
so you must have been good very early on. I mean, if they're putting you like at the top of the
Well,
top
I
billing.
think when I did Alice in Wonderland, I remember we had to do a class vote who people picked. So I don't know that was based on any kind of fledgling talent. That was just probably most of the other kids did not want to do it. So they're like, well, if she wants to do it, let's vote. We had to do like our heads down and put our hands up kind of thing.
Wait, you have to remember lines? Oh, I don't want to give it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do it. Give it to her.
Oh man. So all right, then you were I and the King and I, which is very cool. And then all right, so then did you go from high school on? Was there
Did I pursue it? Like I decided to do a year of general arts. Again, my parents were always supportive, but I felt like I should do it just to see if maybe there was something else I was interested in, because my parents had friends in the theater world, and one of them was a playwright, and he was like, I really want to discourage her from getting into this profession. It's so hard. It's such a hard profession. And of course, that just made me more determined. So I took a year of general arts, and then I got into the acting program. Then I did a year of English lit, and then I applied to go to an acting school down in the States. So I went and did that for several years. So yeah, sort of from that age onward, I knew I was very definitely pursuing this.
was there a point where you were discovered? Like how did you make the first like big time kind of move into the industry?
You mean like you sort of the first job that
First thing, yeah, maybe the first job that got you really noticed, or were you somewhere and someone's like, I'm gonna make you a star. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I remember I was out with a friend of mine, and she brought another friend along who was also an actor. She's now my friend as well. And she said at the time, this is crazy that you don't have an agent. I'm going to send your stuff to my agent. And so then her agent took me on, and that's when I started auditioning and eventually booking things. But I mean, I feel like the first thing I did where I felt like maybe I finally had like a tiny bit of my toe in a bit of the door was when I did just an episode of season 2 of Fargo, and that's when I felt a shift for sure.
Okay, so you're Trooper, Sue Lutz in Fargo, right? And then but that's a big show. I mean, that's probably even it was big then, right? But it's
Yeah.
and the legacy of that is now even bigger because there's
Well,
been
because
so many
it's
seasons. Yeah.
yeah, and it's still on. Like
Yeah.
10, I think they started in 2014. Aren't they? I think they're shooting another season. They may have already shot it. So yeah, that show continues. It's a
The
great
last one
show.
was John Hamm season, I think.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
John Hamm and Juno Temple.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, she was so great. I really enjoyed. And Dave Foley
Yeah.
played the lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jennifer Jason Leigh. Yeah, that was a good season. I
It
really
was a
liked
good
that
season.
season.
It was a good season.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't compare to Fargo season 2, your episode.
That's right, everyone. I mean, it did so happen, not that I had much to do with it, but it did so happen that season 2 really, I loved season 1. Season 2 felt like it got even grittier, which
That's
was,
with Kirsten Dunst, right? And
yeah,
yeah,
and Jesse Plemons and Ted
married, aren't they?
Danson. They are, I
Yeah.
think. I mean, they're together.
Okay, they're together. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Ted Danson and Patrick Wilson and yeah, great cast.
I thought that was season 1. When I first no, you're right. I mean, what I
Yeah.
mean is that's when I in my head that was season 1 because I think that's when I discovered that this was a thing.
Well, right.
Fargo is, I mean, when it finally
I had
caught on in my head.
I'd never seen the show when I auditioned for it. See, it was only season 1 that was out. And then when I booked it, well, first of all, when I booked it, because it was just, I think I auditioned for like 3 scenes. And then the travel coordinator got in touch with me and he said, okay, you're leaving Vancouver this day and you'll get back to Vancouver this day. And I said, that's 3 weeks. And I'm like, do you have the right character number? Because my role's not 3 weeks. And so he double checked. He started laughing. He's like, nope, you're here for 3 weeks. So it was because they were block shooting and, things were spread out over, block shooting, just in case people don't know, that's when you shoot 2 episodes concurrent, like at the same time. The night before I was heading to Calgary to shoot it, my partner said, maybe we should watch an episode of Fargo before you go. And I was like, that is a fantastic idea. So we watched an episode, and that was the season with Martin Freeman. And I was like, oh, this show's so good. I wasn't really familiar with the show when I auditioned. I just remember I really wanted to get it because of all the amazing people attached to it.
Do you have to learn that accent?
Yes. Before I went there, David Lorraine, who was the dialect coach, got in touch with me and we had a phone call and he sent me a bunch of files because my character was from South Dakota and that accent is different than North Dakota. The South Dakota one is a little less what people traditionally think of as Fargo dialects. But yeah, so I worked with him and then he was always on set. So you do a scene, you'd think, yes. And then you'd be like, okay, when you do it again, you got to do this sound and this sound. You're like, oh, and that was the first time I think I'd done a dialect for anything. And it was, thank goodness mine was relatively easy because sometimes you just had to Canadian it up a bit and it was similar. Like how my character said gross. She's like, that's just gross. And it's not quite Canadian, but it wasn't entirely dissimilar.
When you pick up a cool dialect like that, how long does it
Yeah.
take to shake it? Because I feel like I would like talk that way for, how like that Elvis guy, the actor.
Yeah, Austin Butler. Yeah.
Talked
Yeah,
like,
didn't he?
He may still be talking like Elvis.
Didn't he do it for like 2 years or something? And then he said he finally had, I thought I'd read, he said he finally had to get a dialect coach to help him like lose that, is it the Tennessee accent?
But I think it would be just so fun just to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely noticed it the whole time I was there. I remember sometimes, because I was in Calgary, and sometimes I'd be listening to the news and I think, oh, that person they kind of sound like they could be from South Dakota. I mean, they're not that far away.
But one's just south of the other one.
Yeah. Well, or and over a bit, but yeah. So I don't know. It probably took me after I got home. It might have taken me a couple weeks because I was so used to like, no, I gotta say everything in that accent. So yeah, but it did not take me 2 years. Thank goodness. That would be excessive.
Start losing friends. It's like, Elizabeth,
yeah,
stop it.
Yeah, they're like, you were there for 3 weeks. What are you doing, weirdo?
That's so funny. Wait, was Jean Smart in that season too?
Yeah, she was. Jean Smart. Yeah, she's a friend, and that's how we met was on that show. And we never really got to be in a scene together, but there was about a week. I don't know if you remember that episode, but there was the big shooting at the motor motel, and we were out in, I think the community was called High River, and we were out there, I think it was for 5 days in a row, shooting that whole big, huge night scene and all the scenes. And I remember there was one night, and it's cold. It was, oh, when was it? It was like early May at that point. But Calgary, it can be early May and all of a sudden it starts to snow. And then the next day it's like sunny. I don't think they made her do it too many times, but she had to get stabbed in the stomach and then fall on a mat. And I remember thinking, wow, whatever I have to do tonight seems easier than what she has to do. But she was so, I mean, she's a brilliant actor. She was so good in that. Like I was captivated. I liked watching every little expression that she would make. And I loved that her name was Floyd Gerhardt. It was perfect. Yeah, Noah Hawley is amazing, the showrunner of the show.
Yes. Jean Smart is Hacks is great. I love Hacks.
Yeah, I love Hacks.
What was the first thing you did where this may be hard because you're Canadian and everyone's nice and probably says hello anyway. Hello. You know, right? No, but like when was
is that how we sound, Jeff?
Yeah. I don't know why that came out that way.
Where are you from in the States?
Michigan.
Outside
of Detroit.
Oh, so. Okay, nice.
Like when was it? Oh my God, you were in? Like what? Like, do you have one of those?
Yeah, honestly, I get more, and this is very, very common with a lot of actors. So if you go to a party and you meet someone new, just, some random pleasant stranger, and, you start talking, what do you do? What do you do? And they say, what do you do? And you say, I'm an actor. And then they say, oh, really? Would I have seen you in anything? And then there's this feeling, I know I'm not alone in this. In fact, I think I saw someone do like a sketch about it or like make fun of it in some way, an actor. So I would throw out a few things and they'd be like, no, I've never heard of that show. And you're like, okay. And I wish I'd realized like early on, I should have just told them, if you go to imdb.com and put in my name, then you can see if there's anything you've seen. And you're not trying to sound like a jerk, but it's just, you feel like you have to prove that you're actually an actor by saying all the things that they may have seen you in. So, I haven't, when we were shooting in Ladysmith, especially this time when we were shooting there, we went there this past March. And of course, it helps that the whole street is closed down and I'm wearing a deputy uniform. So an American one, like not an RCMP uniform. But so I had like several hours to kill. And every store that I went into, they'd say, oh my God, you're the deputy, you're the deputy. Honestly, Jeff, that is the most I've ever been recognized. There was one time, it was a couple years ago, I was walking down the street with my boyfriend. I was wearing a Resident Alien hat, so it's not even like it was out of the blue. And we got about a half block past this couple. And then all of a sudden I hear, hey, are you on Resident Alien? And I turned around, I was like, yes. He's like, oh, yeah, we love the show. We love you, or whatever. Literally, that is the only time, barring Ladysmith, that anyone's ever recognized me for anything. I think I used to do improv years ago, and I would get recognized more from locals for the improv I did rather than like any TV shows or anything I'd ever been on.
Do you want to get recognized? Like, sometimes you go some places and be like, why doesn't anyone recognize me? Or do you like?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We're so polite. See, you're like Canadian. No. I do remember I did want to have at least one time where someone might recognize me from anything, and that happened. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. I kind of like this is going to sound so like, oh, but I like just doing having my life, minding my own business. I don't mind it at all. And if you'd asked me when I was younger, I'd probably be like, yeah, I want to get recognized. But now I'm just like, no, I like that everything's separate, that I get to do this thing I love and I get to support myself financially doing it. But then I'm just having my life, and I genuinely do like that. Would it be handy? Like, I've been out with Alan. Alan and his wife Carissa are good friends of ours. Whenever we go out together, he always gets recognized, of course. He's got like a huge fan base for all the stuff that he's been in for the last, 20 plus years. And it's neat watching him navigate that, because he's just so nice with everyone and he's so cool with it, and it's totally fine and he's so used to it. I think it would make me feel really self-conscious. I don't know that I'd want to stay wherever we were, because I'd be like, oh, they're gonna hear what I'm talking about, and it's not very interesting. It'd be nice to get a good table at a restaurant, Jeff.
Right.
Okay.
I know. I got that. That's where
Yeah.
you're going with that. I do stand-up comedy, and I was working a weekend with Steve Heitner. He was Banyan on Seinfeld. That's
Okay.
gold, Jerry. That's gold. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we hung out after, and we went to a bar. And now, granted, we're just in a random bar somewhere, and I don't even know what city we're in. There's not that many people in the bar, but the whole time I'm thinking, come on, somebody recognize it. And then because I wanted to be with the guy that got recognized.
Yes. Yeah.
But
No, I understand that. It's a weird, yeah, because when I've gone out with my friend Jean, she always gets recognized, and she's so used to it and she's so good with it. I like watching how excited people get to meet her. That's sweet, because they're genuinely excited and they're really happy they get a chance to come up to her and say, like, oh, I love you in Hacks, or, whatever show it was, or movie that they saw that they loved her in. And that's neat. I think I'd rather be a fly on the wall, is what I'm saying, Jeff.
I think as resident alien, and this is one of the goals of this podcast, is get more and more people to watch it, because now because it's I think you'll be recognized, because I think you're like one of the characters on the show that people would want to connect with, because you're so hilarious. But I think sometimes look at that. Look at
See, now it looks like I'm looking at
she's not even looking at me.
No, I'm not. Okay.
But you think she is, because she's
yeah, exactly.
Well, it's probably what part when you're a character actress too, and you have you're just on individual episodes and stuff like that of particular shows. Maybe it's like people have to watch that show and remember that, and probably, but Resident Alien, you're full time.
Yeah, for
every episode.
4 seasons now. I know that with some of the other casts, I know like Alice, who plays Darcy, and Sarah, who plays Asta. I think they get recognized quite a bit. Like, I remember them saying, "Oh, I was in a diner," or "I was here," or "I was there." I think it's more common maybe in the States, because we don't get it on Netflix here in Canada unless people have a specific channel or a specific like cable package. They're not accidentally running into the show on Netflix like you would in the States or various other countries. I don't know why Canada didn't do that. I wish you would. Netflix Canada, are you listening?
Netflix Canada,
I know.
You got one of your own right here.
That's right. Guys, let's do something. But yeah, so I don't know how watched it is in Canada. Like, I know there's definitely Canadian fans, but when we're on social media and we're interacting with people about the show, honestly, it's usually more likely to be people from the States or from the UK or Germany or Brazil or a bunch of other places around the world. And even though there definitely are Canadian fans, it doesn't feel like it's as definitely not as known here as it is down there. Down there being the States.
Would you rather be famous in the United States or in Canada?
Oh,
trick question. Jeff, of course, United.
That is.
I was kidding.
Really, of course, United States. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I live in Canada, so maybe I would rather be that here, just in terms of getting a good table at a restaurant. I don't know. I truly again, when I was younger, it really mattered to me. Me and all my friends in acting school would be like, yeah, one day we're going to be famous. And we weren't. And now I honestly just think it's so great to be able to work regularly acting and get paid for it and make my living that way. That's excellent. Like that's truly the best part. So I'm pleased that things have worked out the way they have in terms of I'm just someone schlepping down the street with my leggings and my messy hair and too much sunscreen. No, no one ever Jeff, no one ever recognizes me.
I promise if we ever randomly bump into each other, I will recognize you.
Well, I saw a friend yesterday and she said, "Oh, don't you remember years ago I bumped into you at a big drugstore chain, at least here in BC, it's London Drugs." She's like, "I bumped into you in London Drugs," and I kept going, "Oh my God, is that Elizabeth Bowen? Nah, 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 nah." And I obviously recognized her right away. But my boyfriend, she's like, he was like being very protective, like who is this person? And that was like 15 years ago when no one would have ever seen me in anything. But yeah. Anyway, happy to just be a semi-decent Canadian walking down the street.
You're more than semi-decent. You're much high, whatever ranks high. You're awesome.
Oh,
You're awesome.
I meant to. I meant as a person. I meant.
I know. I know.
Who calls themselves a great person though? Like who'd be like, I'm like a really great person, and then it's like, well,
you just did because I'm going to edit it and it's going to sound like you said that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, don't do it.
I'm awesome. I'm Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm a really great person. Yeah.
All right. So before we dive deeper into Resident Alien, let's hit a few of your other. You mentioned you were an IMDb. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go through a few of my personal favorites, meaning like,
okay,
these are just shows that I happen to watch that I like and you are on.
All right.
Upload. Great show.
Thank you. Upload was amazing.
You're in a good handful of episodes. I love the whole idea of that show. It's a really fun show. Another sci-fi comedy. Is it considered a sci-fi comedy?
I think so.
Yeah. You die and you kind of get uploaded. It's sort of like a Black Mirror comedy of a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, it's like dystopian and futuristic, but comedy
/ murder mystery.
/ murder mystery / yeah.
You're always trying to solve something. What is it with?
Yeah, I guess they can just tell my insatiable curiosity about life, Jeff, and that's why they keep hiring me for that. But yeah, no, because my character Fran Booth is an amateur detective, so she's dubbed herself as a detective, but she's normally, which I wish we'd gotten the time to explore a bit more, she's normally a gym teacher. Her cousin gets killed, and so she starts doing the detective work to try and solve his murder. She was a really, really, really fun character to play.
So, all right. So everyone check out Elizabeth. And then when you see Elizabeth in the street, go, "Oh my God, you were an Upload."
Yeah. Or just scream out, Fran. And I probably will turn around.
All right. Another one. I've never seen this one, but when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, you were in The Christmas Secret." What was the secret? What was The Christmas Secret? From 2014. I'm referencing something from January, and now I'm asking you to remember.
Yeah, it's always from 2014.
11 years ago.
I think I was only on set for one day doing that, and I can't remember what the secret was. I played like a baker's assistant.
You were
named Rosemary. Yeah. Yes, Rosemary.
That's why if I ever see you on the street, I'm going to say, "Rosemary."
And I'll be like,
What?
Nope, nothing.
I don't remember that role or The Christmas Secret, you'll say to me.
Oh, yeah. No, I do remember doing the role.
No, I'm kidding.
Because I got to work with a really great actor, Nicola Cavendish, whom I had seen on stage years before. She did the stage version of Shirley Valentine here in Vancouver. So I was playing her assistant, and I was very excited to work with her because she's fantastic.
Awesome. Then working with Peter Farrelly, Ron Livingston in Loudermilk.
Yes. Yeah, that was fun. I think, what did it say my character's name is? Wife, yeah. And it was just a funny scene where you're like, your husband tucks in his shirt. Really? Yes. Yes. It was yeah, no, that was funny. That was intense. That was only one day of shooting too. Yeah, it was intense, but that show's really funny. I think they ended up doing they do 4 seasons of that or something, or
3 or 4. And that's another one of those shows that was buried somewhere and then finally made it to Amazon so people could actually see it.
Yeah.
I've loved Ron Livingston since Office Space. So yeah, he just cracks me up. So
yeah, he was lovely to work with. He's a cool dude.
Those are my big ones. I mean, you've been in a lot of awesome things. iZombie, Animal Control, but not Supernatural.
I was one of the only actors in Vancouver, I think, who wasn't on Supernatural. Because it was 15 seasons, I think they shot up here. They were here for a long
At
time.
least 1,000. You were in iZombie, Pirate Waiter #2.
Yes, I was a singing pirate waiter who had an eye patch and everything. I had 3 costume fittings for that. I was so excited. I made my rent in costume fittings. And that again was just one day. Vancouver actors are very used to going on sets and just doing a day sometimes.
Another question for you. In terms of going on for like a day or so. So Resident Alien, you've been doing, I'll say the episodes have aired from 2021-ish to 2025, but like you've probably been doing it longer than that because you probably have filmed season 1.
We shot the pilot in 2018.
A little bit ago. Yeah. So when you do one-offs on like Family Law or go do some guest spots on Laid or Animal Control, is it different when you're going in, when you're on a series, you're a series regular somewhere and you go in and doing an episode somewhere else? Is it like the vibe a little different for Elizabeth Bowen?
Well, no, definitely. Cause you show up in a set and probably with the exception of the person who wanted to hire you, you're just another actor, which is fine. But when I went to go work on Family Law, Jewel State is the lead on Family Law. And we established very early on, because when you do a guest star, often you're there for like 4 or 5 days. So you do kind of get to know people a bit. But we established very early that we both knew Alan. And so we sort of bonded over that. And I have to say, I don't know if you've seen Family Law, but that was honestly one of the nicest, friendliest, wonderful sets I've ever been on. So I felt that sort of strange, like you can feel kind of weird just coming on for a day or 2 or whatever. I didn't feel that on that show because they were so lovely and welcoming. And it was all Canadians, like the showrunner, Susan Nielsen, everyone was Canadian. I think pretty much everyone was local. But yes, it is an odd feeling when you're so used to working on a show with, the same cast and a lot of the same crew, to then go on to something and you're like, oh, I always want to do a good job, even on our show, obviously, but the pressure isn't there because I know like no one's going to get angry at me if I lose a take. And I'm not saying that would happen on other shows, but I put a lot more pressure on myself being on other shows, I think, than I would on Resident Alien, because we're just like a big family.
When you do something do you purposely try and get something that's a little much different than the character you're doing, Deputy Liv, different than that? Or like when you do the other ones, we kind of make sure that, or they bring you in like, oh no, we want the deadpan humor. We want you.
I mean, they obviously, like when I worked on Laid, one of the showrunners on that is Nanachka Khan. She had seen me on Fargo, I think, and wanted to hire me. But the great thing is in Laid, I played a therapist, and I played kind of a like fancy big city therapist who like dressed really well and everything. So I've never played a character like that. They definitely want, I think, the humor. I don't think they're looking for the same thing. I wouldn't want to do the same thing. But like on Animal Control, I played a really annoying kind of Karen character who lived next door, who just wanted to be given free stuff and wanted to complain about everything. So that was different than anything I'd done before, and that was really fun.
It must be really fun to go all Karen, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, even though I was sort of like mortified, I was like, this character is such an a-hole. It was fun to do it because it was just very different. And someone who actually directed an episode or 2 of Resident Alien in season 1 was the director on that. And there was actually some crew, like the hair people and the first AD and the second AD, who were all from Resident Alien. So that felt pretty good because there was some Resident Alien family there. But yeah, it was fun playing a Karen. I would not want to
walk in with there's a little swagger kind of built in.
Yes, in those leopard print leggings they had me in, which were incredible. How often do you get to wear leopard print leggings and high-heeled wedge, like gold lame sneakers?
Did you steal that from the set?
Yeah, I absolutely did not, but I loved the vibe. I had so much fun in that costume fitting because we were trying on some of the most absurd things. It was amazing.
Love it. Love it.
Yes.
So talk to me about landing the role on Resident Alien.
It's funny. It was this time of year. I mean, this time of year when I first auditioned for it, it was July 2018. I got the audition. And I think I had to do it the next day. And I remember just reading it going, I have to get this. Like I have to get this. And the original description of my character was a little different than how she ended up being. And that is, they said she was sort of like a lunch lady. That's how she was described in the breakdown. It said she was kind of like a lunch lady, kind of. I don't know if they actually used the term expressionless. I just decided to take that on. Regardless, I was so excited. I went and did the audition. There was something I didn't understand about the character. Like there was something that just wasn't clicking. And then when I was sitting in the room, that was back in the day when we actually auditioned in person. And I was sitting in the waiting room and I was going back through, because sometimes what I've noticed is if there's something that's not clicking, go back and reread like kind of like the stage directions, and there could be some clues in there. And there was something in the stage directions where I just went, oh. So then I felt like I had the complete handle on her. I went in, I did it. I remember thinking, oh, please, 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 I hope I get a call back. I got a call back. I had to wait 6 weeks before Chris Sheridan, our showrunner, was back in town to do a callback. And I remember I did the audition in front of Chris and David Dobkin, who directed the pilot of the show. And I think I did a good job. And I remember my partner and I went on vacation right after that. And I was like, okay, I can't let this ruin my vacation, hoping. And it was, no, these are on the morning. I think like 4 or 5 days after I had the audition and sort of day 2 or 3 of our vacation, I heard something that they were interested. I remember thinking at the time, even though I didn't know at the time, she was just supposed to be a small role that recurred, but not like a recurring kind of guest star or series regular or whatever. But I remember thinking very clearly, this show is really special and I think it's going to change my life. And it did. But I'm glad I was so optimistic and a bit naive that I didn't sort of know at the time what the original intention was for that character. They ended up changing it. Obviously, she became more of a regular role on it. But yeah, it was very exciting. It was a very exciting process. It was magical. And we had a blast shooting the pilot.
I love Resident Alien. It was one of those I came to it a little bit later.
Yeah.
And because I caught up on Netflix, and then I'm all
Yeah.
caught up now, proving that with my reference at the very beginning of the episode.
Yes. Alien Cracker Podcast. Yes.
Which is too funny. I think it's cool you get to work with Terry O'Quinn.
I know. I'm so glad that I hadn't seen Lost, because I think I would have been very intimidated by his body of work. And I told him, I'm very glad. Did you ever see The Stepfather?
I think I might have seen pieces of it because I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a horror movie from the 80s, and I think it was shot up in Vancouver. I told Terry, I said, I was very glad I didn't see The Stepfather until after I first met you, because I would have been intimidated too, because his character's so scary, so diabolical. But yes, Terry's wonderful. And we're all so lucky that he came in and played with us.
Okay, so you mentioned that your character was originally possibly just reoccurring, right? And maybe not as permanent as you came to be. Is part of this, did the writers see like there was a kind of a little magic between you and Corey Reynolds, who plays Sheriff Mike? Like, because the banter between you guys is kind of gold, right? I mean, just the way you kind of deal with his character,
Right.
dismissing you is so awesome.
His character's such a handful. It's such a handful. I think what happened, I think once I auditioned, at least this is what I tell myself. I'll have to double check with Chris. I think once I auditioned, he decided to flesh out my role more. And then I think, Corey and I, so there's something that they do sometimes with actors when they're casting a show where they'll do like a chemistry read. And that's not just for like characters who are supposed to be romantic with each other. It's just to sort of see. Corey and I didn't even have like a chemistry read or whatever. We met for the very first time on the day we were doing the table read for the pilot. So yeah, they didn't get a chance to see Corey and I work together until we were actually like in our costumes, hired. And we obviously had a really good chemistry. And yeah, thank goodness they kept me around.
It's just amazing for him too. I mean, right? I mean, it works both ways. It was like, just that through line through all the seasons, your two characters. And the interesting thing I found about your character that I love about your character is one that knows everything from day one. Like, everything that eventually happens. Everyone else comes to you, or your understanding. You're like the quiet person that kind of says, hey, there's aliens, and everyone's like, oh, whatever, because they just kind of dismiss you as a quiet, reserved person. And then slowly, season by season, people kind of fall in line and start to understand, oh, they're seeing what your character's seen knew the whole time.
The whole time she knew there were aliens, there were UFOs, there was this whole life out there. And obviously, as you know, she didn't admit sort of publicly until the end of season 2 when she did a documentary that she believed in aliens because she was worried that people would think she was crazy or weird or whatever. But yeah, she knew this stuff all along.
Right, because you experienced it. Your character in flashbacks, you were always there, and like you start to learn like other people did too, and then like it's slowly everyone's kind of revealing some of their, oh, I've been abducted, I've been this,
Yeah, or like missing time and they can't figure it out, and yeah.
Is there anyone on the show that you don't work with or hadn't worked with that you wish you had scenes with? I'm trying to remember. It's hard to like, remember who's with who.
No, I know exactly. I wish I had scenes with Linda Hamilton. I love Linda. She's one of the kindest, sweetest, cutest people I've ever met. I wish I'd had some scenes with Edie Patterson, who plays Heather, the avian, the blue avian, who's the love interest of Harry's. I was sort of in the same scene as, but I didn't have any back and forth with Alex Borstein. That would have been great. She's so freaking funny. Yeah. So yeah, those are like the 3 that spring to mind immediately. People I wish I had a chance to like directly work with.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton, she's iconic.
Yeah, I know. And she's like, Linda like is a voracious reader. So like she reads like a ton of books. She just has like a really quiet, cool life and her dogs. And then she gets up there and plays like all these like badass, iconic characters. It's the best.
It's so great. So
yeah.
Does Alan have a, you're not allowed to mention there should be a second season of Firefly rule? Like you can't bring that up around.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if anyone brings that up, but I have to admit, my partner has seen Firefly. I haven't seen Firefly, but I certainly am very aware of the huge sort of influence it had, like pop culture references, like a huge fan base. I always see people who are now fans of Resident Alien call him, like, was his character named Wash?
Oh, I don't remember. I didn't.
Yeah. I think it was Wash. Anyway, they'll reference, I guess he had some line where he said, like, I'm like a leaf in the wind or something. There are a ton of Firefly fans out there. And it was one season in a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one of those things that kind of has all this mystique about it. And yeah, that everyone always talks about in terms of that. Do you guys ever do the Comic-Cons together? Because Alan's actually coming to the Motor City Comic-Con later this year.
Oh, cool. We actually went and did like the Comic-Con. We did San Diego Comic-Con 3 years ago or 4 years ago. Oh, no, 3 years ago. We went there in 2022. And have you ever been to San Diego Comic-Con?
I haven't, no.
Wow. I have never seen anything like it. I was very, very nervous to go there. Also, I was very nervous because it was the first time I was traveling during COVID. So I was nervous about that. But anyway, it was so loving and positive and friendly. And that Comic-Con is so big and powerful and amazing. And the vibe in San Diego it's so positive. Like even if people are out partying, it loved it. That's the only sort of Comic-Con I've done. But yeah, I
Did you do a
know.
panel or were you like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we did it. We had to do like a lot of interviews, and then we had a panel, and it was wonderful. There was all these people came from all the various places in the world they were coming from. Everyone, even attendees, had to do a COVID test. They had to wear masks, and everyone was so respectful and like it was very, I know they had to do it, but it was also very touching that you look out and you see the sea of people and everyone's got a mask on and everyone took a COVID test. And it was, a very scary and weird time there for a couple of years. So the whole experience was so, so amazing. If I've only done one, that would be like a good one to have done for sure.
So you just did a panel though. You didn't do not that that's a huge deal, but what I mean is you didn't do like when like it,
Oh, like the signing.
yeah, like the signing thing and all.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't. And I know some of the cast has started doing some conventions. There's enough interest in the show now. There's always been huge interest in Alan, but there's enough interest in the show as a whole that the convention circuit wants to bring us on. And I have only said no to it. I would like to do it one day, but I am apprehensive about traveling to the States right now. And I feel bad. There are so many people I love, so many friends in the States and stuff, but it just feels a bit scary crossing the border right now. Not actually to be in the States, but the actual border crossing process. So I have said sort of not right now, but I would like to, in say 3.5 years or so, hopefully consider doing that because it would be great. I've heard it's so much fun to meet everyone. People pose for pictures and sign photos. And yeah, I hear it's a really positive experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. You can see
Yeah.
all the pictures in my bag. They're all from.
So you go to cons?
Yeah, I love going.
Is that you and like Napoleon Dynamite?
That's actually just a picture from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I did his panel. I'm trying to remember, I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden, but like,
Oh, John
no,
Hyder
not John.
Header.
No, John wasn't there. It was person who played Pedro.
Oh, yes. I can't remember.
Let me look up his
It's
name
something. His first name starts with an E, I think.
because I have the vote for Pedro. I did that for Halloween.
I want to get that.
Efren Ramirez. Efren Ramirez.
Yes. Okay.
Efren
Right.
Ramirez was amazing. I did it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get to do the panels and like moderate.
Oh, like you're. Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm up there and like he was just so cool. He had so many great stories. So he was really he doesn't talk at all like he does in Napoleon Dynamite.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, I loved that movie. I loved it. It was so good.
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Do you have any like favorite scenes or scenes that like like what we're seeing is like this 50th take because you just kept cracking up and couldn't get through it? Like, is there like anything like that?
Yeah. There's been a lot of scenes over the years that I've really enjoyed doing, but one of my favorite scenes was in season 1 when Liv, my character, has finally had enough and she quits and she smashes the hamburger and starts yelling at Sheriff Mike. And I think she tells him to shut up and she storms out and she quits. I had so much fun doing that scene. A couple of my cast members, I can't remember if they were on set that day or if they came in specifically because they wanted to watch that. So it was Sarah Tomko and Meredith Garrettson. They actually came to set and made sure they were there for the scene. And after each take, I could hear them like whooping and hollering. Like they'd be like, "Yeah, you tell him," or whatever. That was a lot. That was a lot of fun. That scene.
That scene is great though.
Yeah.
I think the one where you tell off, I think it's your grandma.
Yes, it's my Nana, Mary Walsh. Mary Walsh is incredible. That was another one of my favorite scenes, but it was really fun to do, but it took a lot out of me because it's a very, very, even though it's funny, it's also a very emotional scene. Like she's really, really hurt. So I was exhausted by the end of that. But yeah, it was so satisfying, right? Because we all have that person in our life some point, or lives who maybe made you feel small or whatever. And maybe you never actually got a chance to tell them off. So that was kind of me doing it for anyone who's ever treated me a certain way. I got to like yell at that person.
On behalf of everyone, you did that for us. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
We could all vicariously live through you in
Yes.
that scene.
Yes.
It's funny as you were reminiscing about the scene where you quit. It kind of occurred to me that Corey Reynolds' character is sort of an alien too. He's not in the same world that you're in.
No, no, because he'll be like talking like, I mean, hilarious, but his character will be talking nonsense, like stuff that's completely nonsensical. And yet it's taken him all this time. It's taken him 4 seasons to like finally believe in aliens, but he'll believe in like a Sasquatch or all of this, or a 6-armed this, that, or whatever. But God forbid that he actually believe in aliens. So yeah, no, his character is so funny and like out there.
His self-rationalization of all his beliefs, countered with your reaction to them.
Yeah.
That's just like
No.
it. Yeah, it's just like the hidden gold, not even hidden, but like just throughout the entire 4 seasons. So it's love it.
No, it's fun. It's fun to play off each other like that.
Yeah, and it's cool. I love the dynamic of the whole cast because you know each other. You all grew up together in the show, and it's like, I really love it. Everyone needs to watch. It's on. What is it on now? It's on
USA Network and Sci-Fi, and then it streams on Peacock.
I love the show. I love you in the show. You're awesome. Appreciate you hanging out with me.
Jeff, it was a pleasure. It was really nice to meet you. I know it seems like Jeff and I are old friends, but we just met like an hour ago. We just met. But
you can tell we just met because you would think we're old friends the way we are directly looking at each other.
Directly looking at each other. The way it looks like I'm looking off to the right the entire time. But yeah, no, that was really fun, Jeff.
Thank you. I had a great
Truly.
time too. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. You're awesome. You're so awesome.
Thank you.
It's that Canadian niceness. You can never get enough of it, you know.
Well, we have our feisty side, as I think people have been discovering lately too. Not to get political, but
well, we brought it out in you. That's our fault.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
you
that's
poked
right.
the bear.
Yes, one too many times.
I know. I'm in Michigan, so it's like I know we get like all your energy. We buy your energy and stuff. So
yes,
I live in the only place in the United States that you have to go south to get to Canada.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we would hang out in Windsor, Canada, all the time. I don't think I
bridge. It's just a bridge between the two,
and a tunnel, and we have
a tunnel.
Yeah, it was always like you're driving, and then like there's the American flag, and then the Canadian flag, and like as you cross the border underwater, you're like
yes,
and then they change the miles to kilometers.
That's right.
And then you have to remember like how in your car to shift it into kilometers. So I'm not going 80 miles an hour American.
That's right.
Which is only, which is like 1,000 Canadian or whatever. And
it's sort of like the dollar exchange. Yeah. But it's like, does that work? I heard it was really common for people who were in Michigan or whatever to go over the border to Windsor to go drink because the drinking age was lower.
The drinking age was lower. Plus before 9/11, you didn't even need a passport. You could just
go. You could go and I would use my birth certificate, I think, to go back and forth.
Yeah, or just you could use your driver's license. Like it was at the point where like if you were in Michigan, especially the Detroit area, you almost didn't think of Canada as another country because you could just so freely go there. And then Windsor, they had like Italian restaurants, and there was a comedy club there that I would always do called. Oh my God, why am I blanking? I've only been there 1,000. What's a famous comedy club in Canada?
Oh, I don't know. Back east, I'm not sure.
It was everywhere in Canada. Anyway, I'd go do stand up at this comedy club in Canada every Sunday. I mean, it was great. We just go back and forth in the border. It was no big deal at all. And so it might have been harder for some of the Canadians to come to America, but like
maybe I think we had to have a birth certificate for sure alongside a driver's license or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. They had a place called Tunnel Barbecue, which was a 24-hour, 24/7 place right at the border, which made ribs and chicken 24/7. So it was like the greatest.
How many tipsy people went to Tunnel Barbecue after a night out of having a few beers?
Enough that it's been in business for like ever.
Are they still in business?
Well, I think after 9/11 they might have, but then I think gone out, but then I think they reopened it. But I haven't honestly, I don't think ever since they reopened the borders after COVID, I don't think I've been
Right.
back. Yeah.
I guess this is your sign.
Yeah, I do need to go. I do need to yucks.
Yeah, yuck yucks. Okay, yes. Yes. They had a yuck yucks here. Do they still have a yuck yucks here?
I feel like
But
yucks
yeah,
was all over Canada, and like
yeah,
it was a Canadian thing. It was like yeah,
yeah.
we go there every Sunday and do the open mics and stuff like that. It was great.
Oh, nice.
Canadians get comedy. They're just
Yes,
they like to laugh.
they do. We do.
So you're awesome. Keep being your Canadian awesomeness.
You keep being your awesome
the-
Michigan self.
and then
Jeff.
after I want to hear. I want to talk after the season's over and I want to hear about the first time when someone goes, "Oh my God, Resident Alien!" I want to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Let's talk
without
after
the
the
hat.
season's
Without
over.
the hat.
Without the Resident Alien hat.
Without the hat. Yeah, that's the gimme.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see if that ever happens.
It will. It will.
Okay.
All right, you're awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Have a great day.